When you think about history, what is it that really separates a golden age from a dark one? Is it just luck? Some incredible leader? Or is there a secret ingredient? That's exactly what we're digging into. We're going to explore the one thing that, according to our source material, has defined every single great civilization. So, where do we get this answer? Well, we're turning to Johan Norberg's book, Peak Human. What he does is pretty amazing. He sifts through 3,000 years of history, tracking the rise and fall of civilizations, and he uncovers this single, really powerful pattern that seems to connect them all. And this leads us right to a huge debate that's happening right now, doesn't it? It's basically a clash between two totally different views on how to get ahead. On one side, you've got the build walls method, protect what's yours from the outside world. And on the other, you have the open doors thesis, which Norberg champions. That's the idea that true prosperity comes from being open to trade, to new people, and especially to new ideas. Okay, so Norberg's core argument is that history's most dazzling golden ages, the ones we still talk about, all shared one key ingredient: openness. When societies decided to embrace exchange and welcome new influences, they didn't just survive, they absolutely thrived in spectacular fashion. Let's look at a case study: Song Dynasty China. This place was an absolute powerhouse of innovation. And why? Because they created an environment where people could just flourish. They had a strong rule of law. They hired officials based on merit, not just who they knew. And, this is huge, they gave peasants property rights and the freedom to move around. And the result? I mean, come on. Paper money, movable type printing, stuff Europe wouldn't see for centuries. The prosperity that came from this was just mind-blowing. To put it in perspective, at its peak, the capital city of Kaifeng had a population 65 times larger than London at the time. Can you even imagine? These massive, bustling cities became these supercharged engines for progress, where ideas, goods, and services were exchanged like crazy. And this wasn't just a one-off thing in China. Nope. We see the exact same pattern pop up again in the Abbasid Caliphate. During the Islamic Golden Age, they created this huge free trade zone with a culture of tolerance. And what happened? Boom. Incredible advancements in math, astronomy, medicine, you name it. A period of absolutely unprecedented prosperity. And look, this wasn't just about trading goods. The real magic was in the free exchange of ideas. It allowed for this incredible cross-pollination of knowledge. So you had brilliant scholars like Al-Biruni who could take the works of ancient Greek mathematicians, ideas that were 1,000 years old, and use them to make new discoveries, like calculating the Earth's circumference. That's the power of openness. But there's a flip side to this story, and it's a pretty stark one. The historical record also shows us, very clearly, what happens when these open, thriving societies decide to turn inward. That very engine of their success can be switched off, and the results are, well, they're devastating. So let's go back to China to see this decline in action. Remember the amazing Song Dynasty? Well, after the Mongol invasion, the Ming Dynasty that followed did a complete 180. They chose isolation over openness, and the result was stagnation. And the policy shift was just dramatic. The free movement and exchange of the Song era, that gave way to forced labor under the Ming. Foreign trade became a crime you could be executed for. They even banned building ocean-worthy ships. China literally turned its back on the world. And the economic fallout from this was staggering. Thanks to these policies, Chinese incomes were actually cut in half over the next few centuries. The country wouldn't get its economic mojo back until it finally started opening up again in the late 20th century. But is it really that simple? I mean, the pattern seems pretty clear, but this is where critics of this grand narrative step in and say, hold on a second. They argue that history is rarely a neat and tidy story. And this quote really gets to the heart of the main critique. It's the classic chicken and egg problem, right? Does openness create greatness, or is it that great, powerful empires can just afford to be more open because, hey, they've already won? Critics will point to the Roman Empire, which, let's be honest, doesn't really fit this neat model. Its expansion was fueled by conquest and slavery. Its elite kind of looked down on commerce. A lot of its wealth was based on plunder, not just trade. And that famous golden age of Augustus? Yeah, that was also the moment the Republic died and autocracy began. So all this reminds us that while Norberg's thesis is really powerful, history is messy. These big, sweeping generalizations can sometimes gloss over the complex and often brutal realities of the past just to sell a particular theory. So, after all this talk about ancient history, Why does this debate matter to us, right here, right now? Well, because these patterns from the past might just offer a roadmap, or maybe a warning sign, for our own time. Because whether we realize it or not, we are living through the greatest golden age in human history. Just think about this for a second. Half of all the progress in raising human living standards in the last 10,000 years has happened in just the last few decades. An era defined by global openness. But here's the catch. This unprecedented age of progress is fragile, and we're starting to see signs of it reversing course. As trade wars start to brew and free inquiry gets suppressed, the very openness that fueled our golden age is in rapid retreat. And this brings us to a really vital question about the future we're all building. History has shown us the playbook for prosperity and for decline. We're living in maybe the greatest golden age of all, and what happens next is up to us. So what's the ultimate lesson from 3,000 years of history? It's that golden ages are not permanent. They're built on a foundation of principles. And whether our own incredible age continues or collapses, well, that's not a matter of fate. As the author reminds us, it is a choice. It's about the choices that we're all making right now.